Hi,
All
Hannah.
right.
It's so good to
Hey,
see you.
likewise. Thank you for having me. Stoked to be here.
As we were already chatting about before we started recording, I'm so happy that you've started this newsletter.
Yes, I'm very stoked. I'm escaping the censorship online and the algorithms, and I am looking to create a more direct, intimate communication with my community without having to think about the ways that I might be censored by Instagram, and also not censoring myself in my creative process when I'm channeling my art from the muse. Like, why should I censor what spills out of me because it doesn't meet somebody else's community standards? I don't have any qualms with the naked human body. I don't have any qualms with a lot of the imagery that people think that are profane or offensive, or I as somebody who sees God in everything and wants to cut up the world and arrange it in a way that makes sense to me, or portrays whatever I'm in connection with, I don't want to have any limitations about the imagery that I'm allowed to choose. And I don't want any limitations about the art that I'm able to show because of that. So I'm forging a new way in the ancient email technology realms. And that's where I will be sending out the transmissions to my audience ship.
I love
Because
it.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, the social media realms are not conducive for my voice or my expression, and it's a bummer, but I'm seeing the blessing in the curse, and I'm forging a new way.
No, it's wonderful, and you inspired me. I have the Substack for the podcast, and I have a Substack for my psychoanalytic center, and then I have this other Substack that Carl and I created kind of in tandem with our Patreon, but I don't really use it because like all the Patreon people just stayed there, and only like a handful of people came to it. But I've been thinking, ooh, I should make that my like creative Substack where I post art because basically, since the algorithm censored me like 5, 6 years ago, I just stopped posting art altogether because it just made me so upset. Because like you said, you don't have to think about it. I didn't even realize that I was posting something that was like offensive. I was just like, "Ooh, here's a collage I made," and then it's
Right.
like banned forever, you know?
See, that's no good. We don't want artists to feel discouraged for sharing their work or expressing themselves. It's like there needs to be a place, and even if we create that own space, you know, um, I don't know, that's just the way that we have to pioneer forward in this weird censorship realm where um the most basic things about humanity are somehow taboo. It's bewildering, but
Exactly. It's okay to
yeah,
show like war and endless violence and starving children and all these
right.
atrocities, but it's not okay to show a collage with like a naked back of a person.
It's so weird. It seems so backwards, but
It is backwards.
indeed, indeed.
How
I
did
hope
you
we
get into creating your collages in the first place?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've always been an artist. Thankfully, I grew up with very like a creative, conducive environment where it was always like I wasn't allowed to watch TV as a kid. It was always go make art, go outside and play, you know. And I hated it at the time, you know, I just wanted to watch MTV, but I was forced to like do the things that have actually um allowed me to build the creative foundation of understanding the utility and the therapy in creating art. But specifically collage, I would have to attribute to um, when so when I was a teenager, I was living in New York City. I moved to New York City a week after my 18th birthday. Didn't know a single soul there. I ended up fortuitously finding myself living in the Gates Institute, which is the Brooklyn brownstone that Genesis and Lady J used to own. Um, and they just like took me under their wing, and I refer to it lovingly as the psychic TV school of magic, where Jen and Jay lived upstairs and I lived downstairs, and every evening I would go up and we would talk about culture and art and magic, and they would let me borrow like books off their bookshelves and like Pee-wee's Playhouse VHS tapes. You know, it was like a one in, one out policy. So if I borrowed something, I had to return it before borrowing something else. But through their loving their loving mentorship, I learned about William Burroughs and Brian Geison's cut up method, and the utility of creating a third way or a third mind or tapping into something that was previously unknown by cutting up a material that already exists. But for me, because I've always been a visual artist, and I love writing, but what speaks to my soul is images. So I just started cutting up images rather than the words and rearranging them that way. And it just kind of turned into an obsession that I've had for the past 20 years, um, making collages, and I've refined my like the process and the technique, and it's all like a learning process, especially when you're having to figure out how to like get paper wet when you varnish it without it crinkling, all the little details of the actual art creative process. But yeah, for me, it was just an organic evolution of learning other ways that people cut up the world around them, and then just being inspired by that and kind of just going off on my own, figuring out how to speak to my own soul, how to speak to God through the act of creation and just letting things come together. I rarely ever have a preconceived idea about what I want to make. I just sit down and I allow it to happen. And then it's only afterwards when I'm looking at the piece that it's like the truth is revealed, you know? Does that make sense?
Yes, and that's the best way. That's always my favorite kind of art. I really get frustrated with artists that too much of the thinking, like, what's the message? Or what they teach people in art school. Like, what do you want to say to the audience? It's like, just make the work and then see what you
Yeah.
said. That's how you learn about
Yeah,
yourself. That's how psychoanalysis
totally.
is too. You like learn what you think by speaking, and then you're like, whoa, do I really believe that? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting process because you actually really do discover so much about the ideas that you have, the connotations that you hold, especially as a collage artist. It's like everything that I'm cutting out, the symbolism is way more rich than what meets the eye. Just a simple image can elicit so many different connotations, and it really is the eye of the beholder. So I feel like it's a mental slog personally to even consider what your audience might think of your art, because art is subjective and everybody gets to choose whether or not it's art for them, how it affects them, what they think. So I think it's like an inspiration joy kill in order to even consider your audience. The utility of art is to have a one, in my humble opinion, as to have a one-on-one communication with God and to express yourself and to know thyself. And other people enjoying the artifact of that sacred process is just a bonus, but that's not the utility, that's not the value. The value is like, as people have said before me, the process is the product. It's the act of creating that is the alchemical gold. So
Exactly. And
yeah.
Jen's a perfect example because I remember when I was in New York, I had a friend who was married to a guy who was like in art school or whatever, NYU. And we went to one of like Jen's shows and he was like, I didn't realize that Jen was a magician. And I was like, what do you think you're looking at exactly? Like Jen just was like, here, let me paste some hair and like nails and stuff on these collages for fun, you know? It's like, wow, they like taught you this person and they don't teach you that this is like a magical process. Like you said, like the artifact that's left over in the end is just that, but the whole point was the entire process of creating it and the magical work in that.
Exactly, exactly. And I have Genesis to thank as the mentor. I feel so very fortunate that I had such a wonderful, inspirational, alien-brained weirdo to just take me under their wing and say, like, it's okay, you found your tribe, let's make some art and let's make some magic. And showing me, truly showing me that that magic is real and that we are the narrators of our own reality and we do have the reins, and that is scary and it's a big responsibility, but we can't brush off the responsibility of taking our lives and what we say, think, and do in this life, incarnated in this body that we're trapped in for the duration of our time here. Um, it's up to us to decide how we show up, and also we get to decide how we react to absolutely everything, even the things that feel outside of our control. It's in how we react to things that gives us the control. So learning that from a young age and having a supportive place to express those things was a very fortuitous thing. So thanks God.
Wonderful. Yeah, I have to thank Jen for that as well because before that, my mother's an artist, and so I also grew up in a like very creative household where I was like making art with her. She taught life drawing and things like that, and used to take me when I was like 6 years old to like, draw naked models and things, which is probably why I have no problem with nudity, you know? And so I
Right.
grew up with it, but then in my like adolescent kind of rebellious phase, I was like, no, I'm gonna be a doctor. It's like I'm gonna go this other way and like not be like
That's so
you,
funny.
mom. And it
That's
was really,
hilarious.
but always like none of my friends were people from school or colleagues. Like all my friends have always been artists and musicians, and like I couldn't get away from it. But I was always like the odd one that was like, yeah, I had this doctor thing going on. And then I realized like through it, like encountering Jen and having this relationship for that time, that like, yeah, like. I've been writing, like I write about artists. I was obsessed with Burroughs and Geisen and the Third Mind, and I would write like psychoanalytically about them. Then I wrote psychoanalytically about Jen and Jay and androgyny and everything. And then at some point, I was like, maybe I should be like making art myself and not just like
Hell yeah.
writing about art. Like, how did this even
Yeah.
happen? And been so liberating and nice to actually like make art, especially as a magical and creative process. And now that's like what I'm obsessed with and do all the time.
I love
And I just
that. That's
happen to
so
be a
cool.
psychoanalyst,
That's so cool. I
which is
love
good.
it.
It's good. It's a good gig.
No, that is a great gig. I love that. I feel like your story is like kind of like the reverse of a lot of stories you hear where people want to be artists and they rebel against their doctor families or their scientific, analytical minded like uh parents, but that's great. I
Yeah,
love
my
that
mom
you
was a
rebelled
hippie
against
and
art.
like used to roommate with like Crosby and Stills and Nash and stuff like that,
That's
and
great.
ate acid with Timothy Leary.
Oh, that's so
I know
cool.
she's so cool.
Uncle Tim. Man. Well, I wonder if your mom knew Jen at all. Like, because Jen and Timothy Leary were close. So maybe their
Yeah.
worlds test.
I was
Or their
actually
cross.
listening to this CD yesterday when I was doing a tarot reading and making cut-ups. That was like the 50 Years of Sunshine. It's like an anniversary of 50 years of LSD CD comp that I think Jen must have helped put together and, from Silent Records. And it had like this beginning of like Jen and Leary talking.
Cool.
It's really cool. And then it has like, yeah, Nurse with Wound and Psychic TV and Carl's White Stains and things like that. It's a great comp.
That's very cool. I love Carl's White Stains Project. It's such a good band.
Yeah, me too. I really do. He's like
Yeah,
so like not into making music right now. He's and just into writing, but I'm like always like, oh, but this stuff is so
it is so good. Well, thankfully, as music does, once it was recorded, it exists forever. So we can always revisit White Stains, even if Carl never picks up an instrument ever again and he just slaves away at his keyboard, writing
good.
all the things that he wants.
It's true. I do have Carl to think that when Carl and I first met, so when I was in my kind of cut up bubble, I started with just text and not image, and I would make cut ups. I actually the very first thing that I cut up, for fun, for magical purpose, I had moved into this apartment in Williamsburg, into this like loft, and it was my first apartment like by myself without a roommate or living with anyone. So it's like, yay, life achievement at
Cool.
age whatever 38 or something. First time not having a roommate. And then I was like usually when I would consecrate a place I would like go around and put salt in the corners and things like that. And I was like, what if I consecrate this apartment by doing a cut up? And I had the paper that I'd actually written that ended up in Carl's Fenris Wolf about, pandrogyny and
Oh, yeah.
psychoanalysis. And so I had that like printed out. I think I must have brought it to Jen's or something. But anyway, I went to my apartment and I cut it up and I like made a cut up from it and it was like the best cut up. I'll have to find it because it was like, yeah, it just said, they say such magical things. And then after
Yeah.
that, I just was like obsessed in spirals of like making cut ups. And then I think I must have watched a video or something of someone saying like, oh, it's great to say them out loud because they're like they have more power. So I started
Yeah.
recording myself like reading my cut up poems. And then I
Cool.
like had like an iTunes like shuffle playlist of like all these like cut up poems I had read, and I would like listen to it shuffled while I was making more cut ups. I know you know this kind of experience of like a cut up hole. So I would
Yeah.
do that like for 8 hours or something
Oh, that's
crazy.
so cool.
And then when I got together with Carl, I like was like maybe he'll like my little cut up poems. So I like sent him one of my recordings and then he sent it back set to music and I was like it's a
Oh my
song and then
God.
he made like
Oh,
albums of them and I was like oh my God now I
oh,
have
that's
like
so
little
romantic.
songs. Yeah,
That's
it
so
was really
romantic.
cool
Ah, that's great.
because I did not mean to start making music. I'm a
That's great.
psychoanalyst, I don't know how to do any of that stuff, but that
That's
was really
awesome.
fun.
That is fun. Very cool. I love that you found your creative expression, even though you were like trying to rebel against it, but you
You
can't
can't.
escape it. You
Yeah,
can't.
exactly. You can't
Yeah.
escape yourself.
No, no, for sure. Um, I'm actually in the pro like going back to what you were saying about artists having like preconceptions about what they're making
Mhm.
and feeling like it gets in the way of just connecting. I'm actually challenging myself right now by going through an intensive 8-week workshop, um, an art workshop, and we're making so it's like a very specific process and it's very like heavy on documenting and there is a theme for the final exhibition. So because of the boundaries and the structures of this project and having to work with the theme and having to spend a lot of time preconceiving what I'm doing, and I'll tell you the theme for the final workshop is duality. And
Mhm.
so in our final piece, um it's not just about representing opposites, but reconciling the duality and bringing it together. So, in the process I've found of making this collage that's representing duality, I chose to explore the sacred and the profane.
Mhm.
And in my process of having to pre-conceptualize and have a theme to work with and working with the sacred and profane as I'm going through, and I had this I had this epiphany last night and I just like had like a cathartic cry, and I felt like like when you like remember um a great sacred truth, like the truths that are revealed to you only when you're in like extreme trance states or psychedelic states, like cosmic truths. And I just broke down and bawled because as I was going through the source material that I've chosen to represent both the sacred and the profane, I realize that I've personally already reconciled the duality and that I don't actually any all of the images and the imagery that I have that represent the profane, I don't consider any of it profane because I see God in everything, and that the message is that God, like that we are all God and that everything is sacred, and that's a big scary message that will inevitably piss people off. And it doesn't matter what imagery I choose to represent the profane, people are going to have their own ideas about what it means, what I'm mean by using this imagery. Like some people are going to think that because I use imagery that means that I'm supporting the ideology or I'm like endorsing it, rather than realizing that I'm using it as a symbolic vehicle to portray a message that's grander than some small ism or ideology or political view. So this has been my weird new process of actually having to pre-conceptualize an idea and present duality. I realized that because of my worldviews and what I've been through on my spiritual great path of no path, is that God is in everything, and everything has a spark of divinity, and nothing is bad. And we decide what's spooky. And it's all about perspective. It's not, nothing is intrinsically good or bad or sacred or profane. It's all about the eye of the beholder. And so that is the obsessive journey that I'm going on right now with this piece that I'm creating, my great duality piece.
How
So
interesting. And this is going to be, are you going to be able to share it on your newsletter?
yes, yes, I will. I will, for sure. I haven't mentioned the workshop or the process yet because I feel like this newsletter is it I'm just getting started. I feel like these past couple of weeks I'm kind of writing things to kind of put a place to where I am right now in my life. Like the transmission that's going out this Friday is about how I joined the circus recently, but then how I realized that I tricked myself because I was thinking that that was like the big dream. But now that I'm working in the circus, as the capacity of a bar manager, like I'm the bar manager ringleader for the for this local circus, dinner theater, cabaret. Uh, and it's lovely, but I realized after starting this job, which I thought was my dream job, that it's not the big dream at all. Like I've been in the service industry for 20 years and I have a lot of love for it, but I'm realizing that being a drunk bartender pre-pandemic was way more conducive to my goals in life than being a sober bar manager post-pandemic. And that in unless I make active daily active actions in order to actualize the big dream, which is financially supporting myself off of my creative endeavors and being able to stay all day and make art all day, which is what I really feel like I was put on this planet to do. Unless I do something every day in order to make that dream come true, it's just not going to happen. So, um, after having that epiphany, after starting the job, which I thought was the dream job, that was part of the reason why I started this newsletter because I wasn't expressing myself, I wasn't sharing my art, I wasn't connecting with anybody who I know would appreciate or value my art. It was like, I don't know, I feel like I have this new fire under my ass of like, I've got to do it. I've got to share, I've got to put myself out there. I can make my dreams come true. Like I said, I truly do believe that we are the creator of our own realities. And I was sleeping on my dreams, Vanessa. You know, I was just like not, I had just really feel like the era in my life where I quit drinking alcohol and then had to learn how to do my whole life sober. Like I was a monster alcoholic for my whole adult life. And it really was a such an emotional alchemical process and a great evolution to like to quit drinking and find out how to live in clarity and to also, Vanessa, confront all of the boogeymen that I had been drinking away or like trying to avoid and facing all the things like my relationship traumas and my like all the things that were keeping me from having healthy relationships with myself and other people. And so it was like I mean, I got sober on January 14th, 2021 was my last drink. And the years after it was such and I had to actively work to rewire my brain. I
Mm.
even did some ketamine therapy where with a company where they like send you the lozenges and which I found an incredible tool. I had used ketamine before recreationally, even like when Genesis and I went to Kathmandu, Nepal in 2009 to do a puja for Lady J. We were there for 2 months, and Jen and I did intramuscular ketamine almost every day. It was just like part of our Nepal experience. But recre and don't get me wrong, like that was a beautiful magical time and that was like cool and I loved it, but ketamine recreationally is way different than using ketamine rewire your brain. And I did a lot of work just trying to heal my relationship traumas and my jealousies and my insecurities and the way that like being in romantic love with somebody brought out all the worst qualities in me, and having to and then realizing that I was the problem in all of my relationships, and that it was up to me to change those things. And I can say that I actually successfully killed my paranoia, stopped the the script that would go in my head of
Mhm.
out, and the ways that I used to I would get like my fear was always watching, and I would, if I heard a thing or I thought I saw a thing, or like even if it was just completely fabricated in my fear brain, I would emotionally react to something that wasn't real. And I was like in a state of psychosis, an emotional psychosis, but learning how to like check in with myself and be like, okay, am I reacting to reality or am I reacting to a fear-based boogeyman that I've created in my mind? Have I put a mask on the face of the man that I love and allowed him to run around in my brain doing all the worst things to me when in reality, none of that is true. And it's
Mm.
only just me going into back like spirals of past pains, past traumas, relationship failures, all the things that make us have those doubts and those fears in the first place. But so getting sober and realizing that and doing the work, do
Mhm.
truly sitting with myself and doing the work and taking responsibility for all the ways that I was not showing up in the best way that I could for myself and for other people. It's super hard, but it's honestly, as you know, it's the most rewarding work that you can do. I feel like the quality of my life and my relationships with myself and other people has just skyrocketed exponentially since I learned how to have a day without a drink. So that is my great success story of being in my late 30s, and here I am finally sober, and just like really feeling like I got over my biggest roadblock, which was my own obsession with putting myself in that chaotic realm. And it I used to think that I needed to be drunk in order to create and to connect with the muse. I
Mm.
thought that getting fucked up was part of what allowed me to be connected to those energies and in order to like express myself. But honestly, that's not true at all. I feel like looking back at the drawings, especially that I made while drunk, compared to a sober drawing, is like I was fooling myself. That was my addiction telling me that I needed it in order to do art. So um I've just got to say life is a lovely learning process, and I'm enjoying the chaotic ride very much.
It's a wild ride. But no, it's
Yeah.
absolutely true. When people are using something like that, you're often like staving off other things. And then when you stop having that, then everything comes up and you have to confront everything and like work through all these patterns, which are
Yeah.
usually really, really old, going back to childhood even, you know? So
Yeah.
congratulations on doing all that work because it is a lot of work, but it is so worth it. And for the addiction to tell you in that way that you needed it to do like what you love and your creative passion. Oh, that's terrible, you know.
Right? It's insidious, but I have I've seen the other side of the mountain, and all is beautiful, all is well.
So how do people support you in creating your art?
Well, I sell my analog collage work. Right now, I only sell originals, because as an analog collage artist who strictly does not use any technology in my process, I feel a little conflicted about making prints, especially considering I'm cutting up other people's art and photography and images that I don't have the licensure to. I don't have the copyrights for these things. Of course, I'm protected as like collage art is protected, but as far as then like scanning and printing something, I feel like it loses that it's no longer obviously a handmade, human-made collage. and it because of the nature of my collage where it's I like my collages to look kind of like paintings where you can't tell where one image ends and the other one begins. So it's not obviously a collage when you first look at it, because it all melds into one world. So as soon as then you make a print of it, then it seems like it's just digital art, which it very much isn't. And I don't want people to think it's digital art. So for now, I'm um selling collages. I think people signing up for my newsletter and just being in my audience and sharing the newsletter with other weirdos and people who love art and people who love my expression and the message that I have, um, that is supporting to me. Even if people aren't in have the even if people don't have the economic status or a place in their life where they can afford to buy somebody's art or support an artist, just simply being in the audience is support. Responding to the newsletters saying, "Hey, I love this," or like, "Hey, this art pissed me off and let's talk about it." Like whatever it is, as long as there's discourse and there's a dialogue and there's attention and there's thought and that people are responding, and that's that's support to me. Um I am sure I'm open to commissions. I'm open to collaborations. Um, yeah, there's many ways, but most importantly, just lending me the time and the eye to look at what I've created, and that's all. That's what support is to me.
Wonderful. And what's the best way to find the newsletter or find you?
So you can go to hannahaddix.com, HANNAHHADDIX.com, and there's where you'll find my landing page to sign up for the newsletter. You can also find me on ye old Instagram. My handle there is Skin Slippers, SKINSLIPPERS, spelled as it sounds. Um, and yeah, those are, and from there you can contact me personally. And if you want to commission a work, would like to collaborate, yeah, that's where you can find me
We
on
should
this.
collaborate on something.
Yeah.
That would be
What
so
do you think?
fun. Mm,
Do you have ideas?
maybe we could send each other little packets of things that we've cut out, and we can put each other's
Oh, that would
cutouts
be
in each
cool.
other's things. And maybe then we can send them back.
Okay.
It could
So
be
like we would
fun.
just use it, we would use the cutouts but not glue it, just do like temporary collage and photograph that. Is that what
No,
you're
you
saying?
have to glue it.
Okay, so that's but then oh, I'm seeing. Oh, I see. I thought you were saying send the source material back, but you're saying send the finished art back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would
Cool.
be fun. Maybe we
I
could
got
start one and then send it to each other with pieces, and then we could each have pieces from each other's, and you don't have to necessarily use those in that one, but then you just have it in your collection, and then we could
cool.
work on each other's collage,
I love
and
it.
then we could just keep those, so we just have to send it once
Awesome.
because postage is fucking expensive.
It is. It really is. Yeah, I feel like in considering selling my art, as a lot of it is glued onto like boards, and I think all the time about like, oh God, like the shipping for this is gonna be more than the art itself, and what a
Mhm.
shame, you know, like, but that's just the world we live in.
Yeah, no, it's gone crazy since COVID. It's just like, yeah, Carl's entire business of like book publishing had to like completely change because yeah, exactly that. The shipping is more than the books cost, you know?
That's insane. Why? I don't like, why is that? Because labor costs
I
more,
think
because
it's
gas costs
Amazon. Yeah, it's like Amazon's changed the postal system. Like in Sweden now, they don't even deliver post from the postal system every day anymore. They only do it every other day because, yeah, because everyone just buys things from Amazon and the postal
more.
system is
What?
like no money.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Mhm. It's
That's
changed. Yeah, it's
flabbergasting.
changed like the postal system is like so integral to human civilization that Amazon's like rearranged it. And then of course the tariffs and all of that insanity. It's just like
That's so
forget
wild.
about it.
See, I'm in this Seattle bubble, which is like the home base for Amazon, and I've seen how Amazon takes over the city. Like I buy my fucking groceries on Amazon because there's no grocery store near me. I'm a carless city dweller, and that's the sad fact of how I have to participate in this city, and I'm here in this bubble assuming that the rest of the world is not like this because this is where Amazon, like, this is its home. But to hear that it's like that in other places of the world where it's like the only thing, that's actually proper sad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a global phenomenon. And that's basically what Carl ended up doing because he used to like do the old publishing, like, getting books published like, 1,000 or 500 at a time or whatever, and then shipping them, which honestly took up all of his time.
Yeah,
And
that's
now
the
he just
worst.
uploads PDFs to Amazon, and then people just can buy the books there, and they print them on demand and
Print
send them out.
demand.
And some old school people are like, "Oh, but we want to buy from you," and it's like, honestly, it's not worth the hassle. Like, just buy it from Amazon. It's just like
Yeah.
it's too much work. And now Carl could his time is freed up, and he can focus on writing. So actually, I guess it
Well,
works out
that's
better
a
in the end for
blessing.
him.
That is a blessing. See, there's blessings in all our curses, and all our perceived curses.
Yes, social media has banned us from showing our art, so now we will do it privately and have better communication with our audience. And Carl
Exactly.
can focus on writing instead of being
Exactly.
like lugging bags of books back and forth to the post office every day.
Yes, good, good. I love that. I do wish you both like all of the successes in your financial, spiritual, and creative endeavors.
Same. And Carl said hi, by the way. He
Oh
said he
yes,
made
hi
sure to say
Carl.
hi.
Hi Carl. Good, cool. Blessed Carl. I met Carl for the first time in 2007 when I was on tour with
On
Psychic TV.
tour.
Yeah.
That was the
I
last
just
tour with Jay.
That was the last tour with Jay. Yeah, she died just a week after we got back from that tour. I was there when she died. It was really well, I was living in the Gates Institute, as you know, and we heard some sirens, and we thought the worst. Well, we thought something was wrong with Jen, um, and it's just as bad that it was Jay. Obviously, it doesn't matter who. It's a life lost, and it was a friend, and but yeah, we went upstairs and we got to like sit with her body as hold her hands as they got cold, and we watched her get taken away in the body bag, and it was it was profoundly sad, and but also to be with Jen in that moment while he was holding the body of the woman that he so desperately loved and made a whole gender project about, created a third being with this person. Um, I'm thankful that we were at least able to give Jen love and support, but how do you give, like, there's nothing you can do in that moment, but, yeah, I miss Jay all the time. Jen and Jay are both on my ancestor altar. I feed them water and candles and flowers and talk to them all the time. And I am so thankful for Lady J. She was such a saint to me. At the time that I met her, I was, a teenage girl who had a long line of bad relationships with women. I feel like I was even a misogynist at the time, just like completely like had just like bad friendships, backstabbing situations, all this. I just had like this weird this weird relationship with women in my life. And Jay, she was so saint-like, and she just came in and just like showed me this radical love. And even though she was fucking beautiful and hilarious and so cool, and I just thought the world of her, she never made it feel like threatening or she was better, or she was never catty. She was only just loving and supportive and interested in what I had to say, and was never condescending or rude or bitchy. She was just fucking hilarious, and she took me as under her wing. And I feel I feel really upset that the time we had was so short, but the impact that she had on my life affects me to this day, and I hold gratitude in my heart for her forever for being a beacon of light in a in a world that I had decided was just darkness. So thanks, Jay.
It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Ben and Jay
Yeah.
are also on our ancestor altar, of
Oh,
course.
good, good. Yes, yes. Got to speak to
Always.
our
Carl
ancestors.
specifically chose pictures of, yeah, photos that he took of them in Nepal. So they both have
Awesome.
this like Nepal glow.
Yeah,
But that's an
nice.
interesting thing that I learned from her and Jen too, is just like a whole different understanding of consciousness because of course I loved magic and dabbled in magic and believed that like, people pass over, they still exist and things like that. But I feel like experiencing her and Jen, like her being on the other side and Jen being here, helped me really see like, oh wow, this person's like really still around. Like this is like very palpable and like it's just clear, you know? It's like just clear that
Yeah,
she's there.
yeah,
And then yeah, having that experience really, yeah, just changed my whole like yeah, worldview and really opened it up to like, wow, people really are still around, actually. It's not
yes,
just
yes,
like,
they
I
are.
think so. It's like, no, no, now I know so.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so cool to go from the thinking to the knowing, and especially the knowing in things that are unknowable. It's like, no, but I
But
know
you
with a
just
capital
know.
K, you just know. Or maybe with a capital G, like gnosis, but it's just like,
She has
it's
such
just,
a strong personality. It's just like very distinct. And I didn't meet her in life, but it's just like, yeah, she's just like so clear.
yeah, yeah, she
And it
is.
takes a real, yeah, special person, obviously, to be able to be that clear and strong from the other side
Yeah.
like that.
She was a living saint when she was here, and now she's just a saint now that she's gone.
I like
But
that. And I like
yeah.
that I dated a Catholic long ago, but he was like a Catholic mystic and his dad used to give us acid and
Ah!
stuff. And we would read the Bible. Anyway, it was a whole weird trip. Early 20s,
Yeah.
around the year 2000. But yeah, he used to say that, yeah, saints are like people who open windows to like another view of being or a way of seeing the world that wasn't there before. So in that way, I would say they
Yeah,
definitely do fit that description.
for sure. For sure. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Vanessa.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention?
Um, oh man. I mean, I could probably just talk to you for hours and we could have the coolest conversations about all the things art and magic and but I feel like for the purposes of just like kind of giving a hint of who I am and what I'm all about and where I've been and where I wish to go, I feel like, yeah, I feel like I've said the thing. Is
Good,
there anything
good.
that you want to know or anything that you want to ask or
No, I just love your collages, and every time I see them, I love them. And I just love how you fit everything together so intricately. And yeah, it's just they're just all beautiful. They have such a great aesthetic. So I
thank
just wanted to
you.
let you know that when I saw you had this newsletter, Carl and I both signed up, and I just wanted to share it to support your art.
Thank you. Ah,
That's
that
what you
means
can do if you have a podcast. Put hat on it.
yeah, yeah.
Spread the word.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you so much. I really do feel so like blessed and thankful and appreciative for you and your time and your interest in the art in the first place and your support. It really does mean the world. So thank you so much.
Okay, good. Well, let's be in touch again soon.
Yes, and let's send each other art collage materials and do the exchange. I
Yes, I
definitely want
think
to
it will be
collaborate.
fun. Okay,
Awesome.
good.
All right.
All right, bye, Hannah.
Bye, Vanessa. Thank you, doctor. See ya.
Yeah.